I'm in the water. I'm looking at coral
Okay.
swimming.
You're swimming in the water, are you?
Yeah, yeah. It's beautiful. It's very relaxing.
And what else can you see around you in this water?
Sea turtles and
Beautiful.
fish.
Mm,
It's warm.
mm.
Water's warm.
And can you look down at your body and tell me what it is that looks like?
The woman's body. It's yeah. It's a human body.
It's a human body, is it?
Yeah, it's a female body. I'm a woman. Gun. Back up.
Do
Probably
you
20.
have any clothes on your body?
Um, um, uh, uh, I don't have clothes on, but I do have clothes to put on after.
Okay,
I have nice jewelry or like seashells
okay.
on my
Does
wrists.
does this jewelry mean anything special to you?
It's just it's just a connection with this environment
Mm.
that's important to me.
And do you
Thank
have
you.
any other accessories on your body?
There's something in my hair, but must be but some height. No, not really.
Mm. What does your face look like?
Uh, Getting moving to uh, water. Um, my face looks it looks like a bit different than what is. It's the skin is darker, the hair is darker, and the eyes are brown, and face is pretty. Um, Somewhat of a oh, soft jawline.
Mm.
You know,
So is your hair long or is it short?
it's long,
Mm.
goes down to my past my shoulders.
Mm.
It's kind of heavy.
Mm. And what are you doing swimming in the water on this day?
I am collecting, looking for a sponge. I think. Look like I'm looking for at a sponge.
Okay. Are you
But
searching for a
just
sponge?
yeah,
And what do you use the sponge for?
mm, We make it. I make tea with it.
What do you do with it, sorry?
I make a drink with it.
Mm.
And I'm looking for various things. Don't really know all of it. But there is a sponge, and I'm collecting stuff.
Mm. So are you looking for ingredients for a drink?
Yeah, yeah.
And what happens next?
Well, I've got I'm on the sand. Also, and walking back with all the things. Pretty basic. That's what I thought. Yeah,
Can you speak
back
up
at
a little?
I'm headed back to my to the headed back to the city uh, village place.
Okay, well, can you show me your village and what that looks like?
It's not quite a village. It's wow. Oh, it's uh, mm, like coral. Well, it's mm, the buildings are made of the volcanic rock,
Okay.
um, and it's it actually look like not really a word to
Mm.
describe it.
So is it bigger than a village?
Yeah, it's like a small city. It's a city,
Okay.
actually. It is, but it has a village kind of vibe.
Mm. So the buildings are made from this volcanic rock.
Yeah, and they're kind of cut into the. They're also built in the ground a bit too.
Mm.
It's um like built into the hill, and then also wrapping around with the volcanic rock,
Mm.
creating um, like walkways and things. It's very beautiful. Oh wow, there's ponds everywhere. There's like beautiful little ponds and little or garden
What
stuff.
do these gardens look like?
They have tropical flowers and red and blue flowers and lily pads.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, lots of lily pads in the water in the ponds. Ponds are magnificent. They curve around the buildings like the walkway is a pond next to it that wraps around things. It's really, really beautiful
It sounds
and
really beautiful.
very. Uh, it's not anything. Not really words.
Mm.
Hmm. It is like it's kind of a palace actually. It looks like, but it's not. It's very integrated into the environment, and also like there's people all over talking and having a good time laughing,
Mm.
and they have little huts um, that are kind of built into the whole thing. It's like wow, it's really strange.
Mm. And what do these people look like?
They look like me. They're kind of short and stout stocky-ish.
Mm.
Yeah, but they're the men are very it's it's very strong. Like
Mm.
like it's so weird. Yeah, they're handsome. I'd say
Mm.
they're fit looking.
Mm. What sort of clothes are they wearing?
I'm wearing like it's like cloth that kind of wraps around, and it's definitely very like people don't wear a lot of clothes, but it's like there's some modesty.
Mm.
There's some modesty, but not as much as I'm used to.
Mm.
It's kind of funny. The men in particular, actually, it's kind of weird.
Okay, so what happens next?
I'm going in. I look like I'm talking to a mate, like a boyfriend, I guess. Kind of
Okay.
just seeing what he's doing. Because I'm curious. And I have a little bag or a little weave basket with things I collect.
Mm.
Yeah. So,
So what are you talking to him about?
um, I'm making an excuse to talk to him, actually.
Mm.
Sort of pretending to be interested in what he's up to. As I like to talk to him. And was- he he's talking about all the things he. It's nothing important, I suppose, but it's kind of fun.
Mm. And what happens next?
I'm I'm making that tea, and I'm going into so it's like in simple.
A very
Uh,
simple tea, is it?
that's not. It's actually I don't. So there's like women who are like in this temple in this hill, but like it's part of this castle.
Mm.
And the tea is like uh, the purple, blue, some strange looking sponge, and uh, some flowers. I see a blue and a red flower, like those ones in the pond.
Mm.
It's a red tea, definitely a special tea, I guess.
What is the temple for?
It's. So I guess I'm a. Hmm, feel what I'm really doing here. Yeah.
Do you have a special job in
So,
the temple?
so I'm. There's a group of women, or I'm one of them. I'm like a seer, I guess.
Okay.
We're like we kind of like um yeah. So like I'm gonna drink this tea and like uh try to divine some information. I suppose
Mm.
that's strange.
So you drink the tea, and what happens? What happens as you drink the tea?
Um,
Can you
really weird.
describe to me what's happening?
So it's like, um, um, so I'm seeing a face in the, like, it's like, yeah, with the, like, the Earth Mother.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like, must be some sort of, like those shamans, like it's really, really, it's like a face. It's like Mother Earth, like I'm talking to her, I guess. Like she's like made out of like the not describable like, tree, I guess. Like
Mm.
it's
So you,
strange,
yeah.
but I'm talking to her. Well,
Mm.
it's not really talking. It's it's like I'm getting a
Mm. And what is she saying
communing.
to you?
Yeah, this is the thing. So there's the she's sad. She's sick. She's upset. And this is why we're talking to
Mm.
as she's sewing. There's a black spot on her back,
Mm.
and it's like deeply rooted, not in her core,
Mm.
but she's showing me this, and she's showing me this spot has a web. She's beautiful, but there's this black spider web pushed into her,
Mm.
and she's telling me that I need to that she's crying, and it's very sad.
Mm.
And she's basically crying for us. And
Mm.
I know what she's talking about because I can see the black, so I could look into the black spot, and I
Mm.
could see the yes, um, the, the yeah, the lamp is not what they call it.
They call this place
It's like,
Atlantis, do they?
well, no, we call it. So there's a city, and it's like it's steam and machines,
Mm.
um, and uh, and the people are like breathing in smoke, black. I don't know if this is like I don't know if this is like metaphorical, but they're breathing in black smoke,
Mm.
and it's making them like makes their eyes turn black. I think that's not. It's
Mm. Is this
like a metaphor.
something? Yeah, is this something that's happening in the vision that she's showing you?
It is, yes. She's showing me her cancer, I guess,
Mm.
and the people that live in it.
Mm.
And and they're gone down a very different course.
Mm. And so is this
They,
hurting
they,
her?
it is. It's like actually like embedded in the surface, like inside her body, and then this like thing is like spreading like a cancer, like it's creating a little web throughout her body.
Mm.
And where she's crying because uh, we're like the opposite, and she's crying because she doesn't think she can stop it any more than
Oh.
she is.
Mm. So do you and the other women regularly talk to the earth?
Yeah, yeah. We talk to the earth. We talk to um, various. Um, we that's the issue. We're not able to talk so clearly, even to like the light beings. We used like some. Well, I guess I can too,
Mm.
but we're having communication issues actually because of this black smoke. Like, so I could see that she's in a prison, like in a cage,
Mm.
and she's like wailing and like sad.
And so what's happening in Atlantis, does that make it difficult for you to talk to the higher beings?
There's a smoke that's, I guess it's like a sickness that's spreading
Mm.
across the earth and getting in. It's not like physical, but I'm seeing it physically in the vision,
Mm.
like a black smoke or something. Yeah, cloud
Mm.
almost. That's like spreading from Atlantis to us,
Mm.
and then there's a. We could tell there's a quarantine that's occurred.
Can
So
you
it's kind
tell
of
me?
ominous.
Mm. Can you tell
Yeah,
me more about the quarantine? Whereabouts is it situated?
it seems to be. Well, they are. Nobody in their right mind would go that place unless they live there because they could see that there's sickness.
Mm.
Um, and then where we are, which is on, on the other side, they so we're not even we're starting to see signs of it spreading to us actually,
Mm.
and we're not really able to communicate with or we are not able to receive guidance like we were. And I'm crying because it's just like helpless, really.
So why are you not able to receive guidance as much as you
They
used to?
they kind of are coming here either. They
Mm.
are sort of there's it's kind of a sickness coming to us too.
Mm.
It's like a malaise, like a weird. Because we're all kind of happy people,
Mm.
but we're also kind of like in denial.
Mm.
everyone sort of knows, at least we all know what's going on. We're not in denial, but the people, like my boyfriend, right? Like he doesn't.
He
He
doesn't
just sort of,
understand, does he?
yeah, like you know that there's this sickness, and you just okay, I'll go fishing,
Mm.
and it's I want to stop it, but there's nothing. It's kind of very confused on what to do. We could talk to the earth, and she tells us, but um, just we're just kind of mourning because so we see the black smoke spreading. Um, that's not something that like everyone would be aware of. It's like it's a seer. I could see the energy.
Mm.
Other people are kind of they don't see how bad it's gotten.
Mm.
Like the royalty people kind of want to just say, Shh, don't. They want to know, but they don't want to rock the boat.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, what about the people in a position of power in your society? Would they be able to
Well,
do something about this?
so there's yeah, so they don't want us to really. They want to keep it. They want to keep the peace, but we are taking precautions. Um, um, we're sending a lot of uh, books, or not books, or we're sending. I guess it's like a magical item,
Mm.
and we're sending them away. We're hiding stuff around our colonies, or I
Mm.
guess I see we have like a schools away from the island.
Mm.
We're trying to teach the local people.
Mm.
We're sort of like we have. I wouldn't call it a colony, but it's like a base, and we're teaching people and inside of these big pyramid things, like out there, far away,
Mm.
where no one would find them.
Mm.
Oh, this is kind of weird. I don't know if this is me, but I think this might be someone. Well, it might be me. I don't know. That we're like in the water, and we're like I'm like talking to telecommunicating with the mer people.
Okay.
You know,
And what are they
we're
doing?
doing. There, we we have the. I'm seeing these stone scrolls,
Mm.
like I guess the case, and in the case, it's those things, those magenta. Wow, it's magenta crystals,
Mm.
and so we're going in the water and we're giving these to them because um, we cannot have them be found.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, why are these crystals special?
Um, we don't really know. Oh, we do. So you could. So I'm holding the. I guess there's like a ritual. Oh, that's cool. So there's a ritual where I'm someone does something with crystal and it sends me into like a void. I meet
Mm.
myself, I guess, and so it's an initiation ritual where I'm receiving like a, I guess, a power from myself through the crystal. So I'm not. There's other women who are really they do use these things.
Mm.
Um,
So they're
and
different to regular crystals?
yeah, well, they are like small actually, or about like a foot long and magenta, and they're like pulsating light. I don't know if it's actually pulsating, but I'm seeing pulsating. Like the thing is like a very powerful thing that is extremely powerful.
Mm.
So
So,
we're hiding them.
mm. So these are a lot more powerful than just regular crystals that you might find on the earth, are they?
Yeah, I have a little crystal that I use for, I guess, sensing. So I take this crystal and I could sense. It's like a healing crystal, I guess, or
Mm.
Reiki kind of crystal. This kind of crystal, if you used it on a person, you would kill them
Oh,
if they
I
weren't
see.
if they weren't. Uh, you would kill any person. Yeah,
Mm. So,
it's extremely delicate.
mm.
They're gonna take them. We don't know where they're gonna take them. We don't want to know where they're gonna take them actually.
Mm.
Um, but they actually, I could see they live in like these giant holes in the ocean.
Mm.
So they live below the ocean, in the ocean. Yes,
Below
at
the
least they're
ocean.
taking there
Mm.
very deep.
Mm.
Yeah,
Do they live in little caverns in the ocean? Is that what you mean by below the ocean?
yeah. So I'm seeing a hole in the ocean, and then that's like so they live very very deep under, like in the water under
Mm.
the ocean floor. So
Mm.
it's kind of strange, but very they're very pretty too. Um, we barely see them, but they're around. They know what's going on also.
Mm. Are they more like an energetic being than in a physical sense?
That's interesting. They yeah, so hmm. So they could um become physical and then yeah, become they could disappear, I guess. So
Mm.
yeah, they could become energy and then phase in and out.
Mm.
So there's magical. We don't we I understand how they do this, but it's not something I could describe exactly.
Mm.
Yeah.
So you're taking all of these items away for safekeeping. What else are you taking away for safekeeping?
This relic. Um Not much. We don't want to be careful about not being too um we don't want to scare people.
Mm.
So people know there's an issue, but they don't realize that it's an immediate issue.
Mm.
Yeah. So we're not doing a whole lot besides. I could see some of our people, some men, are going to these schools.
Mm.
Um, quality school, and they're going there because they have the knowledge of things, and
Mm.
so I guess they rotate there, but we're kind of keeping some of the adepts there because just as a caution, but it's well, I see. So Gaia warns us that we're basically doomed.
Mm.
And she's sad. And so I know that, and some of us do. So yeah, they're sending the men away, some men away,
Mm.
to keep the knowledge
Mm.
and share it with the local people of those places.
Mm.
So maybe they will carry it forward.
Mm. So what happens next?
Hmm. Hmm. Guess I'm killed. No, I'm assassinated.
Okay. So
Yeah.
let's rewind time to before that happened and tell me what's going on and what caused this.
Well, so this temple, somebody snuck in. These two men,
Mm.
I guess they're Atlantean. They have like, and they're like they're assassins. They have armor. They're like, I don't know. But yeah, they kill us all. Well, not all of us necessarily. I could see that they stabbed me. Pretty much, I'm sleeping, and I wake up and see them, two of them, and they stab me the right in sacrum, like above it, I guess. Ugh. And I basically am ejected. So
Ejected
it's not
from the
that
body.
painful.
Mm.
Yeah, I'd like being punched.
Mm.
And then I'm like, well, it's actually kind of rad, but I'm sort of pleased to not have to face what I've seen.
Mm.
I see
Because
that they
you.
killed me because they didn't
Mm.
want us talking and saying what we could foresee too
Mm.
much.
Mm.
But we also could not stop it. So at least I don't have to. I feel guilty, I guess. Well, yeah, good riddance. These
Didn't
two
have.
bastards killed me,
Mm.
but they'll figure it out. I'm not mad at them actually. I'm sort of like, oh, they're dumb,
Mm.
but they also spared me from facing what I foresaw.
Mm. Which was that
So
the destruction?
yeah, Yeah, it's like, yeah. So they, like, we could see that they were going to exterminate us,
Mm.
and because we kind of, I don't think we were a threat, but they just hated us,
Mm.
really, because we were not sick. Well, at least we weren't that sick,
Mm.
and they just hated it, and so they it's like you're not going to take over the world if you don't take over everything.
Mm.
So I'm in my body or my floating away,
Mm.
and I'm expanding.
Now, whatever happened has already happened, and you're on the other side of it. From that position, you can look back at the entire life and see it from a different perspective. Every life has a lesson and a purpose. As you look at that life, what did you learn from it?
Mm. I was well. I learned a lot about people.
Mm.
I learned about. I very much enjoyed this life and played a small but important role.
Mm.
So it was important, not like even being just a priestess, just kind of push the needle.
Mm.
Not can't. I wanted to save it all, but I also learned that sometimes you just have to be at peace with what is,
Mm.
and it's a reminder of that. You can't save it all. You just push the needle as much as you can.
And what do you think was the mission of that particular lifetime?
Well, the important thing was fundamentally urging people to salvage what we could.
Mm.
I felt in the life, I felt that my mission was to stop it. I could see myself bleeding, but now I could see that it was more about experiencing it and remembering that energy, and also about helping guide the people involved who make some right decisions. Like, it is frustrating because they could have evacuated, but they weren't. They didn't believe me. They didn't believe us enough to do that. But they did believe us enough to do something. And some people did leave. Very few, but some.
Now walk me through it. Tell me what happens after you pass on.
Well, I can see myself expanding. Feels nice. So I'm growing and growing back into the light.
Mm.
And now it's just light, but I could still, I cannot see. I could just see
Mm.
form or colors of light, shades of light. But
Mm.
I have a feeling, and it's like, oh, gosh, like, oh, gotta go back. Gotta, this is a headache. This is for us.
Mm.
It's like, I'm feeling like my mission's gonna get a bit longer than I had hoped.
Mm.
And
What do you mean by that?
well, so I could see the Earth was put under quarantine,
Mm.
and it's now it's this was a foreseeable event. The
Mm.
spreading of the what should I call this? The corruption,
Mm.
the disease, I
Mm.
guess, was spreading, and this created the lockdown. And now it's a matter of watching this play out and then coming up with a new plan.
Mm.
This was foreseen, but it's still unfortunate because there was better outcomes that were possible.
So who is enforcing the quarantine?
It's, I guess it's like almost a collective, like it's not really like one person makes the
Mm.
decision. Actually, it's like we just like, oh, not going there. So, um, so yeah, so like some dark energies can still go in there. It's not like it's a I guess partial quarantine,
Mm.
but now it's gonna become it's kind of like I don't want to go there. Like I did that life. I lived in the nice place. I sort of lived in the darkness there, but it was actually nice. But
Mm.
um, I could see that it's like a lot of the light beings are gonna have to take a step back and let it
Mm.
play out.
Mm.
Yeah.
Now let's move away from that scene, leaving the person there to continue on their own path. You can now move either forward or backward to find another appropriate time and place that has the information that you need. You are now at another time and place, and as you gather your bearings, I want you to tell me what is happening around you and what you are experiencing.
I'm seeing eh, seeing it all. I think this is like my next life, and it's colder. This must be Europe, and I'm seeing a. It's just really weird. It's hard. So I'm wearing like not like darker clothes and it's battles. Well, I don't know. There's guys coming down from the sky, and I'm on the ground, and
There's guys coming down from the sky, is there?
Yeah, they have little, I don't know what, packs, I guess. It looked almost futuristic, but it's not. And there's fighting. It's a very chaotic scene.
Mm.
And a bit.
So let's rewind time a little bit to before you got to this battle and tell me what it is that you're doing, what you can see around you.
So I can see that I'm so I think that the flying guys is like a memory within this memory.
Mm.
I'm remembering my own past while being I'm like on a horse
Mm.
with these people. Um, and we're I don't know if I'm in charge of them. I'm a man. I'm more of a leader,
Mm.
and we're going around on a horse and we're preparing for a battle,
Mm.
but not actually like a futuristic kind of battle. But I know what this is about, and I remember,
Mm.
and I I'm very powerful, but I um like you know in a mm, it's very odd. I have black clothes,
Mm.
um, and it's some sort of tribe of kind of mm, so they look like elves actually, but not. They're also kind of more human looking, more
Mm.
muscular,
Mm.
and I seem to be in a. So it's Europe. It's Siberia. It's Siberia.
Mm.
Actually, it's kind of cool, and we're going around. I don't know if we're preparing for a battle or if I'm just thinking about it because it kind of connects
Mm.
in my line here.
Mm.
But it's for people who live in the woods out there,
Mm.
and I can see that we're placed after this is in the future. This is like so. There was a really beautiful society in there in like Europe, I guess, and
Mm.
were the remnants of that society after it was something happened to it, but
Mm.
I could see it just crumbling, and now it's ruins
Mm.
after fighting some some like dudes. I wasn't there, but some it was destroyed,
Mm.
and I guess I was born here, and I'm like a a um, chieftain, would say, but like we're very we're not like tribal exactly. We're very
Mm.
refined,
Mm.
but we're kind of becoming tribal. But
Mm.
not. we're falling in the technological sense, but we still know who we are.
Mm.
And we are very connected to that and each other.
So did you have advanced technology in the past civilization?
That it was. So I'm remembering the technology seems to be like a long memory of like remembering a past life.
Mm.
So, but in that civilization, we were like, I guess, magical
Mm.
ish. Like, I mean, we could. It's very high, very. The vibration was very high, so we could like levitate. We can't. We're losing that. Like, I
Mm.
can't do that really. Kind of.
Mm.
Maybe I can, but um, the people were able to, and I could see libraries, and it's very kind of fantasy
Mm.
spires and things, and it's somewhere over there.
Mm.
Um,
Somewhere in Europe?
yeah, somewhere in Europe,
Mm.
like France actually, but I can't tell exactly.
Mm.
It looked different too. The geography's different,
Mm.
but anyway, yeah. So I seem to have a very clear memory. We have a consciousness memory, so
Mm.
we as a people can remember things and see things which we never even really saw. It's kind of weird.
Mm.
Yeah.
So you told me that battle was on your mind. What is the reason for this conflict?
This so now it's more of a there's like kind of paid people and giant yeah. So there's people who have fallen
Mm.
and we're we're on patrol because they may attack, but I can see that I'm kind of leading us through these forests and we live in the woods we live in the woods and we move around the woods nomadically,
Mm.
semi-nomadically, because they cannot find us here. And we could keep these woods by moving around, we keep the vibration very high here.
Mm.
Um, and that creates I guess, a protective barrier
Mm.
around the forest. So we have to move around and kind of shine around and keep the forest protected. And that way the darkness does not seep in.
Mm. So has
So I could see that's
darkness,
kind of all we do.
yeah, so has darkness come over the world at that point?
Yeah, yeah. It's as far as we're concerned, we live in a little bubble.
Mm.
I can remember. I have a very clear vision, very clear vision. Like I can see visually,
Mm.
spectacularly well. Um, it's interesting. Yes, a darkness has come over the earth, and it's like really gross and decayed outside of our forest.
Mm.
Yeah, but it's nice here. It's like very. I mean, it's not advanced per se, but we seem to retain magical abilities,
Mm.
and we're hiding. I mean, we're hiding, and also because it's so light here, comparatively, the indicate people would not come here.
Mm. So is that the ones that you go to battle with?
Yeah, so they're like people who are becoming animals,
Mm.
like over time. I guess kind of like trolls. I guess. I mean, they're not giants. Like they're sort of. I think I'm seeing something that's sort of based on what I know, but it's like hmm, yeah. So they're just kind of out there, and they're really gross. They're big. I mean, they're big dudes, and
Mm.
they're not really a threat to us, but um, we still don't want to come in contact with them because then we'll have to kill them,
Mm.
and they that will kind of pollute our forests. So um, we sort of want to keep them away because I mean they may attack. You know, they kind of try to, but it's like gross because we could just destroy them.
Mm.
I could just literally, but I've done it. I guess it sucks, but I've just like killed 30 of them.
Mm.
Like it's just because they're strong, but they're not like they don't have the power.
Mm.
But we
Are
really
they
don't
not
want
very
to do that.
smart?
No, they're like inbred. I guess. Yeah, they're like. I mean, they're becoming kind of like animal people.
Mm. Animal people, are
Yeah,
they?
yeah, not like the people. They're not but like they're sort of falling back into a totally barbaric state.
Mm. Like
And
caveman sort of things?
yeah, yeah, exactly. Um,
Mm.
they do. Some of them have um, are more organized and have little kind of civilizations, and they try to kidnap us, and we don't like that, of course.
Mm.
So that's an issue because they do like kidnap people or
Mm.
kidnap us. Yeah. Um, so that's not really as long as we kind of keep our area protected and move around and
Mm.
but it's a fear for sure.
Mm.
You could see they
So,
kidnap us and sacrifice us.
oh,
Actually, it's very
oh,
gross.
why do they do that?
They though they basically answer to the Dark Lord, I guess.
Oh,
Sounds
okay.
kind of weird to say, but they they're they they get why do they do that? It's a good question.
Mm.
Um, they don't know any better. This is what they do.
Mm.
Um, but they think that this is a good way of doing things,
Mm.
and yeah, they'll sacrifice us and then eat the yeah,
Oh, really? So they'll eat it afterwards?
yeah. It's really gross. But yeah,
Mm. Is that part of their
uh,
ritual?
yeah. So it's kind of they want the power. We have like magical blood.
Mm.
I
So you're
guess they
much different to they are you?
um at this point, yes,
Mm.
but not long ago, maybe a few thousand years ago. No,
Mm.
or at least we were not that different.
Mm.
Now it's like the barbarians, and then the yeah,
So they're like cavemen, barbarians, and you said that you're more elf-like, are you?
yeah. So we have we have like golden-ish silver armor. We have like enchanted stuff. It's and we've retained these sort of very important things, but the cavemen people, they don't live in caves exactly, but they have little villages,
Mm.
you know, um, um, where they do their their shopping. I
Mm.
don't know what they do really. We don't know exactly what they're up to, but we do know to some extent what they're up to.
Mm.
Yeah.
So now let's leave that scene and let's move forward to that day that you were in battle and tell me what you're seeing around you and what is happening.
So mm, I don't know if I die here, but I might. I think I do. It's more magical. Like this isn't. Yeah. So this is like the cavemen people, like hordes of them.
Mm.
Um, but also some more.
Mm.
Um, there's some more. Oh man. Yeah. So they kind of caught us off guard,
Mm.
and there's some more really demonic looking. I can't. I just see these like ghost or black forms
Okay.
that
Do
are
they
like
look
not even
kind of
people, but
they look kind of smoky, do they?
yeah, it's really weird. And they like, ugh, they like shoot out that black smoke and
Mm.
they could just kill us with it, and they could
Mm.
control the caveman dudes with their hands.
Oh, okay. So how do they control the caveman dudes? What what do they
They just
do?
put their hands out and
Mm.
they just, but they could sort of disappear, and they're like, I don't even know if they're people. They're just like a spirit, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah, they don't really have form, but yeah, it's black smoke,
Mm.
and I could see them just. They could actually kill a lot of us with it. So,
Mm. Where
anyway,
did these things come from? These black smoke
um,
things.
they were were all here, and they basically live off of sacrifices.
Mm.
Really sick, but yeah,
Mm.
they
So they were
they're
called here to Earth?
yeah. Well, yeah, there's. I guess I don't know, but I they were summoned, and they require to maintain a physical. I don't know if I call it a body, but they need like they basically like are like a dementor.
Mm.
It's really yeah, yeah. We didn't know they were there. We kind of just in my life, this life, they kind of show up out of the blue, but
Mm.
we assumed they must have been there, and um, we just could not see them.
Mm.
We don't leave the forest,
Mm.
really. Besides scouts that kind of do stuff. We
But
don't really...
yeah. In this battle, do you see them there?
Mhm. Yeah, they're physical because that lets them kill us, actually.
Mm.
Because now they're in full physical, and they could they could just like knock the horse over, which is sad, and um and they could make they could like some of us are like losing our mind.
Mm.
Um, they could kind of do a create an intense energy that clouds everything
Mm.
and creates it. So you just go into panic and frenzy, and a lot of them they actually make us kill ourselves.
Mm.
Some, not many. They have that kind of power.
To turn people insane.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm trying to resist it, but I think I'm gonna die in this battle.
So you said that there was
And
flying sort of machines too. Can you describe what those are in the battle?
well, I think this is kind of weird, but I think in the heat of the battle, I'm remembering, I'm hallucinating,
Mm.
actually, but I'm like remembering uh, best life
Mm.
in like in a different planet.
Mm.
So it's kind of like because I'm reliving this
Mm.
fight, I'm and I've like it's like I know I'm gonna die, so I'm sort of seeing my whole thing,
Mm.
all my this pattern, and I'm
Mm.
like, I remember a time where it's like fighting these guys with like wing sort of jetpack things, and they kind
Mm.
of remind me of the smoky guys.
Mm.
So it's hard, and it's hard for me to differentiate
Mm.
because I'm in a panic. I'm not.
Mm.
I'm keeping my cool, but I know I'm losing it.
Mm.
So I'm seeing things that scare me, and
Mm.
this is one of them. It's very interesting. But
So is there anyone who's in charge of these black smoky things and these humans that are attacking you in battle? What would you call the leader of the other side?
well, we are aware that they have, uh, I guess, call it a dark lord, like a. We don't have a specific name because we know that there's a central command, um, but we don't know all about it. We just kind of we know that there's an entity
Hmm.
or a group of entities. It's hard to say,
Hmm.
but I see a little circle of like I see a black circle, and they could become one, and they could also split off and become like a group of seven.
Hmm.
Um, they all have so they all have their own like so yeah. It's kind of a hive mind sort of situation.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So that's what's in control of the other side of this battle.
Yeah, it's well. Uh, this is just. I don't know if this is like a big bat. This is a big battle, but that entity isn't here. It's just his minions.
Hmm.
They're kind of here to surprise us.
Mm.
And it's like so I'm in charge of this little area of this big giant forest.
Mm.
I'm in charge of a group of people, or maybe I'm one of a few who's in charge.
Mm.
It looks like there's like 3 or 4 of us who are kind of chiefish. I don't know. And they're surprise attacking and want to corrupt their forest, and
Mm.
they're going to get a little bit of it. It looks like,
Mm.
because we were not prepared for an attack by these smoky dudes.
Mm. You
Yeah,
kind
we
of
don't have
haven't
protection
seen
for
these
them.
things before, have you?
No, they're kind of a myth, and now we're like, oh, it's very real, because
Mm.
they would come and cause panic in someone, and they would say what they saw, and we didn't really believe them. We
Mm.
did, but we knew something was going on. But they seem to be like, if they're going to show up, they're showing up to kill everyone, because they're kind of shadowy figures.
Mm.
Yeah.
So now, we've now gone forward to the last day of your life in this lifetime that we are watching. What is happening and what do you see?
It's they in the battle, they take me and on my knees. I'm I'm ready to die. I'm just pissed.
Mm.
I'm just laughing and like, hey, I'm just like, yeah, I'm coming back for you. And then they're gonna kill me. So
Mm.
it's like off with my head. And I'm
Mm.
like, yeah, I'm bad, but I'm also like hopeful that I'll win.
Mm.
So it's sad,
Mm.
but it's in this moment oh, I'm very ready. Like, yeah, very sad to die with that much anger, but
Mm.
it's sad. It's sad, but I'm also, this anger's
Mm.
gonna drive me to not let it happen to me. Yeah,
Mm.
that chop off my head.
So
I'm
they
seeing
cut
it.
off your
I'm
head.
not even. Yeah, and
Mm.
I was actually out of there before then, but I still watched
Mm.
to kind of say goodbye.
Mm. Now, whatever happened has already happened, and you're on the other side of it. From that position, you can look back at the entire life and see it from a different perspective. Every life has a lesson and a purpose. As you look at the life, what did you learn from it?
I learned I can be. I learned to, well, this life was essentially a beginning to my greater experience on Earth
Mm.
in this more modern time.
Mm.
So I was rooting myself in to these people whom I'm rooted into.
Mm.
And I also learned to I had to accept that I would be angry and vengeful,
Mm.
um, and sad. It's not vengeance in an uncontrolled manner, but just a passion to fight back for my
Mm.
people,
Mm.
which was important later on.
Mm.
But I think Harrison has seen enough death for today. But
Mm.
he, so I gained a passion in this life, which has driven me through until today.
Mm. So, what was the
It was not,
particular mission of that lifetime? Sorry.
well, it's interesting that, so in Lemuria, I was defeated.
Mm.
And in this life, I was a bit depressed. And being killed this manner, I was driven to reignite that fire. And so in this life, my mission was fundamentally to integrate myself into this society
Mm.
and to basically be one of many sparks who would
Mm.
light a flame
Mm.
that would end his in the earth at this time. There was, like today, to a smaller extent, there was, to a much greater extent this time, a deep melancholy amongst any beings of
Mm.
light. They were fighting to remain light, but they were so sad and depressed and kind of stuck in a loop.
Mm.
And they needed to actually experience some traumas that would cause them to remember the greater mission. So in remembering the space fighting, I kind of integrated these feelings into the collective consciousness
Mm.
of the, call them, horse elf people.
Mm.
Um, and that helped reignite the flame.
Mm.
They bring passion back to
Mm.
the light.
Mm. So, am I speaking to Harrison's higher self now?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. So, with that lifetime that we just saw, were those people that, I guess, on Earth that Harrison saw, were they, what were those people? Were they more Lyran sort of human people, or?
They were, so there was yeah, so they were essentially Lyran humans who had a society. They were humans. I mean, they were,
Mm.
they became differentiated from the rest of humanity
Mm.
from this point onward.
Mm.
On, but well, um, they became differentiated from the rest of humanity for a long time, and then reintegrated much later on in history. They were Many of the souls, not all, were had strong Lyran connections.
Mm.
Physically, they were descendants of some various Lyran groups and
Mm.
Pleiadian groups,
Mm.
actually, and a few others, but they had more of that nature connection, which is similar to, which is descending from Lyra lineage.
Mm. Is that why we get those myths around elf people living in the forest today?
Exactly. Yes. Yes. It's a memory because this was like actually most of human civilization, well, not the most, they were one of various groups of humans who managed to avoid the corruption
Mm.
and helped carry the light forward.
Mm.
And so now they're mythical,
Mm.
but they eventually reintegrated back into the human collective.
Mm.
Some did, some left. But
Mm. So the people around them, they were more primitive, weren't they? So
they
did
were,
those people go in a
yes,
different direction?
they became, so these many were, well, people who were in Atlantean colonies or corrupted, let's say. Um, or they were even just like cavemen people who were corrupted, who had not even fallen. It's many different groups of them, but they all had become deranged.
Mm.
Many had become deranged and violent and very aggressive.
Mm.
It's because of the density that
Mm.
was plaguing them.
Mm. So they had like a dark lord sort of a being. Can you tell us
Yes,
more about that?
this is this. I believe this is set.
Okay.
I could see this dark figure, like 100 feet tall. It's not like he's actually 100 feet tall, but this
Mm.
massive black figure
Mm.
who can condense into this, well, shapeshift, I suppose,
Mm.
and just and move and actually locate by, like, not biolocate, but like locate himself in 1,000 different people,
Mm.
and it's really weird.
Mm.
It's like, yeah, so it's like this. It's a being, but it's able to become one being. It's able to become infect many, and it's mm, and this guy has a mission from another group, which I cannot totally see
Mm.
necessarily and discuss now. But he's like the chief guy here.
Mm.
He has his own master.
Mm.
It
So he's
really,
mm. So even he has a master above him.
yeah, yeah,
That's interesting to see how deep it goes.
yeah. I could see this whole. It's this black smoke stuff.
Mm.
It's like I could see that it's almost yeah, that he has a master, and the what I not clearly say is if his master has a master. I
Mm.
don't think that's true actually. I think this is like it goes deep, but it's also not like hmm, well, I guess it does. The scale is pretty big.
Mm. So the Lemurian people, were they another group that was trying to, I guess, hold on to the light at that time?
They were all. I would not say they made a mistake because this was not something that they had known that they could do. However, they were holding on to the light. The passivity was an issue as they were not people who were focused on defense at all. And they were aware, as this experience shows, some were aware of what was going on. And they wanted to keep the peace instead of fighting back. But of course, that lesson was learned later. And the lesson of how to fight back without becoming deranged. It's very hard to do that. But this is something that humans are working toward. Well, struggling with.
And keeping the balance.
Yes, putting your foot down and fighting for yourself and defending yourself without getting caught into the cycle of vengeance. And the Lemurians, maybe rightly or wrongly, just decided to let themselves go. Well, they took precautions, but were not ready for war. And it was not until much later that the light had gained the passion to fight back without losing the light.
Does that come from the strength within?
Yes, it comes from never forgetting who you are. So not necessarily never forgetting the trauma, but never forgetting who you are. And no matter what you've done, no matter who you are, if you could always say, I am, if you can recognize who you are as a deep level, as this little ball of light, then you actually can resist. That's the only requirement to resist the smoke but this force will seek to, it's like a disease, a etheric disease that pushes into the spiritual body to try to block it out. And if someone just consciously remembers, then that's enough to stop that. But it causes confusion and panic and all sorts of fear. Fundamentally, it's fear. And that is very overpowering. It's sad because you look at Earth and you can see that many people, you get stronger by lifting a weight. And this kind of weight is very heavy, such that it crushes many. And so humans are getting stronger to lift this weight, but so many also are crushed by it. And when that happens, there needs to be extra help because this is not what everyone signed up for. Many did, but this is it's a bit of a extreme circumstance. We in Earth wasn't supposed to get this dark. It was supposed to get dark, but the soul of the Earth is so strong to resist it, which is why this mission was taken up on Earth to relieve the trauma. But even then, we've faced overwhelming force and trauma.
Is that what that vision was that Gaia was showing you in that lifetime? The sort of smoke going into the Atlantean people? Was that like that black sort of smoke beings? Did they have an influence in that?
Yes, it's so she was showing me her body and the black smoke going around the Atlantean part of the world and their colonies like a spider web. Then she was showing me crying as she was fighting to resist this smoke from infecting her. It this time, actually, it's very sad, and this is the hard thing: is so strong, the soul, and she is at this time. She was being raped, really, but
Mm.
and she was fighting it back, and she was holding the light within her, but starting to lose it.
Mm.
But she's here, and she tells us she's she's smiling because she's she's okay now. She's smiling, so
Mm.
it's good to know.
Mm. So she's coming out of this period of darkness.
She's she's smiling, and she's like jumping in joy and play, like she's back to normal almost.
Mm.
She's really happy, like coming back. It's like being reborn.
Mm.
She's like looking at the outside. Oh yeah, you know, it's like all the smoke that was pushed into the earth is now shooting back out. So now
Mm.
it's on the surface, but it's flying away from the surface also, or
Mm.
being pulled away, I guess.
Mm. So is this
So
why we're
she's
seeing? Sorry,
yes,
go ahead.
oh, she's just really trying to emphasize the happiness of her soul
Mm.
compared to this other time,
Mm.
because this is good for people to recognize as they see the smoke and darkness around them, that at the very least the soul of the earth is now jumping in joy because she sees she has been healed.
Mm.
As on a very deep level, she has been healed. The outer shell now, it's kind of like your body is being, the organs are healed, and your skin still has a bit of crust and acne and
Mm.
gross stuff on it, but you know that's going to go away. That's just the last part, even though it looks the grossest.
So is that why we're seeing so many things happen in the world today with the military conflicts and whatnot?
Yeah, it's the smoke.
Mm.
It is, you could say it's, Gaia took it in
Mm.
as a way to help alleviate the pain on the surface, and then is now pushing it back out.
Mm.
And humans are also more, well, humans are on a collective basis, not individually, collectively are prepared to push it out. So that humans today are taking this in, and most of the leaders of the world are more or less corrupted by it, but are also very, there's also a bunch of light coming from the surface, from inside of Gaia too, and from outside, that's creating a extreme polarity or extreme variation, where some, depending on where someone's vibrating or focusing, they're either taking in the smoke or they're taking in healing light. And many people are fluctuating between the two today, and they're learning how to choose. And that's important, because they're learning how to, it's it's empowerment in sense.
Mm. So is that why some sort of people in the spiritual community are getting more fear-based, and then some are getting more, I guess, like, I guess going within?
Yeah, exactly. So it's at this time, well, there is this, like, you could imagine what we're calling smoke is intelligent. So
Mm.
it is flowing toward lighter beings.
Mm.
So if you imagine a being who is light and strong, but maybe doesn't recognize their true power,
Mm.
or is not so firm in their strength, but very bright, they actually will go to them and try to encapsulate them. and most of the time those beings will eventually learn to expel it. But it's seeking the lightest people. At least I wouldn't say the lightest, but the lightest, and also those who are not protecting. Not, let's say protecting, but it's actually an inner knowing and inner strength and inner focus, which is the protection. Because it's not about avoiding the poison, it's about knowing how to expel it.
And how can you expel this sort of fear, smoke, poison stuff?
Well, fundamentally, it counteracts love and truth and this. So there's this core you can imagine of light. If you could physically expand it, that literally will push it out. Most people experience this, or many people have experienced this, and it cannot coexist with this fear. Cannot coexist with love, with truth. Cannot coexist with lies. Eventually, one will always win out.
So there is like a truth there that people can, I guess, align with, or how do we know which is truth and which is not?
Well, you cannot know what's truth and what's not truth. You can feel what's truth and what's not truth. And sometimes that feeling is not, it's subtle. And it's not something that you're going to feel instantly, but you'll feel sick. For one, Harrison has had that where he'll hear something that is false, believe it, he'll accept it as truth, and then he'll become ill. His gut will become inflamed, and he'll experience inflammation. And he's learned that this is a sign that he has accepted falsehood. Most people maybe won't realize that, but that is an example of a symptom. People will have symptoms, and subtle or obvious. Typically, someone who's a stronger light being will have more physical symptoms, as their body's just pushing it out more naturally. Other beings. So imagine, as we were talking about the military, the conflicts, the not world leaders, many world leaders, so-called. They're more accepting of it, so they're not so. They just kind of are absorbed into it, and I wouldn't say they lose their free will by it, but effectively they don't really have agency. So they don't. They actually could remain in good health despite the corruption, because they actually live off of it in a sense. So
would you say that they're negatively polarized to be able to live off of that sort of stuff?
Exactly. And we'll say this, it's disturbing, but it relates so their sacrifices actually can help create that energy and then prolong their life. This is interesting because you will notice soon now, actually, if you can see, this is not working so well. Many people who are in that position of power are becoming ill and sickly, and because this mechanism was working very well maybe 1,000 years ago, and now it's not working. Where their bodies too, because they're absorbing the light from Gaia just from eating the food and breathing the air and drinking the water. Their bodies, though their souls maybe not so much are changing, they are at a subtle level. Their bodies are actually becoming slightly lighter, so that becomes toxic to their ability to absorb toxic energy to benefit them is no longer working. Yes.
So would they typically be like what you would call the elites that do these sort of sacrifice sort of things?
Yes, that's well. The elites. I almost encourage Harrison to say these are, people look at these people as they're above them, like elites. We call them
Mm,
elites, and that's fine. But we should always try to remain some love for them.
mm,
It's hard, but
mm,
recognize they're poisoned,
mm,
um, and they're not totally able. They make decisions, and they're they're puppets.
mm,
And you imagine they're all puppets, not even of other people, but they're just controlled at a subtle level, almost like the cavemen were controlled in a
mm,
more visual sense, subtly by the dark energy.
mm. So is that why they continue to do this practice?
It is. Then it's not working um, so well because the Gaia herself is becoming lighter. So it's becoming very hard. So now they're trying to ramp it up,
Mm,
create mass destruction
mm,
and chaos and suffering to try to create as much of this smoke, this dark energy as they can.
mm,
And they're actually not. Um, People may feel that this is that they're doing very poorly.
mm,
Actually, their
mm,
plans that they had set forth a long time ago are going nowhere near what they had hoped for.
mm,
Um, it's it's kind of funny
mm,
because they see like they create a pandemic and people were scared, but they didn't. They weren't. It didn't work, and now they start World War III, and no one wants to fight. No one. Some people do, but the collective consciousness of humanity um, is Harrison says, oh, their people are not rising up and empowering themselves, but they're also not falling for the fear as
mm,
much as they could. So that's good to see
mm,
because this has been planned for a very long time, and it's comical to see that it's not going according to plan.
mm.
But that
So,
illustrates the strength of Gaia.
mm. So what should we expect this year in terms of them trying to ramp things up, I guess?
Well, Harrison has seen this. We've shown this to him, and we'll keep it vague. But he had a vision where there was because we can't say everything, where there was a man who's an allegory for being in control, and
Mm,
he was thinking about pushing the red button,
mm,
and the red button is war,
mm,
and now he pushed it, but Harrison saw before he had pushed it, and there's a blue button
mm,
after that red button,
mm,
and there was a green button, which was the creating a virus,
mm,
and we won't say the blue button, but it's known.
mm,
It's well, yeah, we could say. Well, it's a matter of creating an external threat of
mm,
ETs, and this has
mm,
been also prepared.
mm,
Um, Beyond that, in creating a world war, you create a risk because you can create a war, but you also can unite people, and that sometimes could actually elevate them.
mm,
And also, it's this idea of the fake invasion of aliens, or maybe
mm,
even something different, because we don't want to say so specifically, but an external threat that would unite humanity may actually benefit humanity
mm,
or create chaos.
mm,
And there are these people, well, this darkness is trying to, well, yes, these people who have absorbed this darkness are struggling because they're really losing their ability to. They're losing this unearned wisdom they were using. So now they're kind of they're like an angry child who's just smashing the game controller because they're losing. Push all the buttons, and the plan's foiled. And so this 2024, I would not say that you could expect great growth within yourself. You can expect more spiritual connection, more visual connection. There will be some time before there's a total purge of the darkness. But it's getting to the point where many beings, many people will become immune to it. And more will become immune to it, and that will allow them to step forward into a light and almost not see it, but not let it get to them, and laugh at it truly, and love even those who are infected by it. And this is not something, again, Harrison wishes he could be like this. This is a practice, but it is something that is very good to practice loving those who are in ignorance or in this darkness, even people in your family who maybe are caught up in it. You cannot stop them from being paranoid, but you can shine your light, and that will actually push it away from them too, eventually, if your light's strong enough.
So can we send some healing and wisdom to parts of the world in conflict to help with this?
Oh yes, it's good. And anyone hearing, just see Gaia's light. See it strong within the earth, this bright white light that is there. It's there. It's maybe hard to feel, but you can see it. And you can see it rising up. And all the beings around the earth and on the earth, all this light on the earth, around the earth, in the earth, pressing in to the earth, pressing into these parts of human, this central point. You could imagine that the Middle East is this central point on the grid, and pushing that light forward into the gut part of the grid. And that will heal the whole grid, because this is like a central point where there's a tremendous amount of positive and negative pressure clashing. And it's just pushing out the darkness. But you can push in the light. And
speaking of which, the process by which the male polarity can find healthier integration and healing as well, because there's a lot of that energy tied up in that. So what can you tell me about that?
We gave Harrison the Life as a Woman to help illustrate the feeling of being a woman, as most men are not totally. In our society, women have more awareness of men than men have of women. And it was nice for him to recognize that though it's so different, it's also very similar, being in that different body and having a totally different mindset. So to all the men in the world, I would say a few things. For one, some are for karmic reasons or they are just experiencing this from a different angle, to say that they are going to experience this process on Earth, and they're going to learn from it and grow from it, but they're not going to push out the darkness in this life. And that's true for women too, but this is true for some men. We would say there's a bias because many men they've gotten into trouble in past lives and are now here to begin their own healing journey, but not finish it. And many men are also suffering from the collective, the not having a clear male, and this is true for many people, a clear model of not how to be, but a model for healthy integration. So many men struggle because of the father, this generational trauma of being very stoic and emotionally guarded. And most of the young boys actually coming into the world, and girls, are very light and have stronger connections to their emotional bodies and to their physical bodies. So they will naturally clash with the older generation of men, and that will heal. That will heal this. There's a definite healing that will take place as the generations shift. But there will be a learning process as many younger men and women learn a new way of being, and that's not necessarily based on an external model, but an internal, basically an internal guidance on memory and feeling of their soul, which will give them a clear presentation of themselves, such that they will not need these external models which do not suit them and are based on partially or totally corrupt mentalities. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So would it be good for them to look within their multi-dimensional self to find role models instead?
Exactly. It's a matter of being your own person, and this goes for anyone. And that doesn't mean you have to, being your own person, and then accepting others as they present themselves. And maybe you don't necessarily see, you don't understand how they present themselves, and it seems to clash with you, but to accept that that's how they're presenting themselves today, and maybe that will change, or maybe it won't change, and you accept it as you accept people as they are and how they come to you. Many men and many people would say, but in the male energy, there is a fear of others, and there's some trepidation toward accepting others, partially due to these traumas, which we have discussed. A fear of people who look different, because in the past there were people who looked different who were dangerous. And so it would be good for men, because some men will not really find it easy to look within totally, but it will be good for them to do that, and also to look toward other people and just start turning off that voice of judgment, because that, as you allow that, if you allow any judgments, that's allowing a little bit of dark energy into your field, and you maybe get it out. But it's good to practice that. It'd be good for Harrison to practice that. Not that he's particularly judgmental, but sometimes he gets bogged down with even people who seem corrupt, or they seem, he judges the sick, let's say. And he knows that he shouldn't do this, but we just encourage him to accept people as they are,
Mm.
and shine your light.
So he also wanted to know about methods or practices to improve psychic abilities. What can you tell him about that?
We would say this, to one extent, with psychic abilities, there are practices. And we will preface this with saying you don't need to rush into this because if you're, as Harrison's become more psychically aware of others' emotional fields, they make him sick to be around some people because his psychic awareness has grown. So there's a clash between the psychic awareness and the feelings of resentment towards others. So if he is struggling to be emotionally around people, then he can only go so far in the awareness of the other people's fields. So that's one, is just actually learning to love, because that will help make it easier to live in a state where your third eye is open, so to speak. Of course, we could say from a more practical basis, there's a process by which we're developing. Humans will and need to develop their executive function and their visualization functions and connect these two functions. So that's their ability to command what they are able to see in their inner vision. This is something which can be practiced by just visualizing, laying down, practicing as we are, remembering, and connecting. And people may even benefit greatly from visualizing memories in their own life and healing and working with those memories, and then that will help them begin to remember more and more and more. And within some time, people will actually be able to remember their past lives and experiences and have very clear connection by just, as some people learn to practice connection within, that will, or learn to practice visualization, that will actually encourage the entire field of humanity who are vibrating at a similar level to very quickly gain those psychic skills. That is to say, individual practice is good, and also the collective of ascending people, we'll say, will actually help lift each other up.
Mm.
And not even through direct contact, but through the field.
So it's like a 100th monkey sort of effect.
Exactly, yes.
Mm.
Yes.
So
and this is... Yes.
It's okay, go ahead.
Oh, ask your question.
He had a question about the crystallization process of the human body too. And is this related to that?
Yes, and that's what we were going to say. That this is the same process with the crystallization. And this is actually interesting as subtle examples of humans over the past some generations are starting to regain functions they had not had before. And this is happening, for one, in a physical realm, as far as athletics. This is very subtle, but this has happened, that people now are able to, not that they need to, but they're able to actually improve their body more directly because other people have done so. Now, going to the crystallization process, we will say this is a long process, which people will accomplish in this life, that will have stages. So you know that your brain is a crystal, your heart is a crystal, your gut is a crystal, all in the liquid. They're all these connected, movable crystals, which we're quite aware of. Your bones and nervous system are also fundamentally crystals. And there's a connection between this, and this grows, that creates integration here through these complexes, and then that will lead to connection in the nervous system into the bones, and that bones will help heal the body, because that's the core reserve for the body. And then from there, we will see other changes will take place, and into the future, humans will have many abilities which would seem ridiculous by today's standards. For one, you could say within the not so far future, people will see that their bodies are becoming younger. People who are practicing, in particular, meditating, doing what they feel guided to do, they will start to feel younger and look younger, though sometimes the looks will change the less. The feeling of inner energy, which, as the purging happens, purging the toxins, you actually will feel more sick, and that's where most people are today. And then there becomes more alleviation there, and then the outer changes become apparent, and eventually, yes, there will be more activation of genetic parts of the human structure which have not been activated some sense ever, and that will lead to a complete change in human lifestyle and living beyond most people's wildest imaginations. Though that's still something, it's good to focus on what's here now also.
Because my guides were saying that my body was already crystalline, or like my bones, and so I just thought that was really bonkers. So is that happening to some people?
Yes, well, what this perspective would say, the bones are connection to the nervous system and to the brain functions, and then that is, for one, the bones have a subtle electromagnetic energy which actually helps with feeling vibrations physically and communication, and also the core energy reserves which lie within the bones and the bone marrow. And this is, you can imagine, the crystallization process starts from within the core and then works its way out.
So are some people experiencing this around the world as well as me?
Oh, many. Harrison is working on it. We are currently working on clearing his heart, and working on integrating his heart and his gut, as he has had some traumas in those areas in these lives, which we have discussed. And then we have begun to work on the bones and continue. And this is happening to many. And in fact, there are some humans on the earth who are well along in this crystallization process, but they are mostly separated from society. And in this case, because they're separated from society, they have only a small impact on the field of humans, such as to say that they do not have much of a 100th monkey impact. It is good for people to integrate themselves with others as they're able, because that actually helps spread the crystallization process to other people slowly. But there's much we could say on this. There's a rising consciousness of people, and that creates a field. And as you imagine, one person begins to undergo the crystallization process or progresses in it, then that helps progress the others. And over time, some of these people who have well along, maybe they are actually quite old and are unknown to humans, will begin to become closer. So, like, these are like inner earth people, Harrison would say. And that will actually really accelerate the process as we come into contact eventually. And then that fields merge, and this will be a great accelerant. And even as people begin to connect with those people, or even their past lives where they had the body processes still intact, their body is also remembering those codes. Those genes are turning back on.
So does Harrison have a guide or a team that's helping his physical body with this?
Nice. There are quite a few of us, quite a few who work around him. He's funny because he's like, oh, I don't want to be. He doesn't want to be. He is apprehensive to totally know who we are because he fears, or he is concerned that he will lose or struggle in his life if he is too connected to us, because it would make him it would no, I see. Yes, he has a guide who is helping. He has many guides who are helping him, but
wonderful.
For his sake we will not show our faces to him, though he could feel our love, and that's enough for him.
So will he find out who his guides are later on when it's appropriate?
He will. We are initiating him, preparing him to initiate into his greater self. This is complex, as being he has important relationships that he must maintain, and we must know that he will be able to manage that, which is something that he can do, and it is something that this is something for many people who are on this path or also struggle with, in that they want to grow and gain abilities, but also do not want to separate themselves from their loved ones. And it's like being stretched, and this is good practice. So in time, of course, he will know and be very aware of us and aware of who he is, but we will take it slow with him and give him little bit by little bit and encourage him to keep growing and keep practicing and doing the core practices, which will encourage his physical, spiritual, and mental faculties.
So can you tell us something about the similar, I guess, functions between, or the similar, I guess, what was similar between the Lyrans crystal bodies and the crystalline bodies that humans are transforming into?
I would say that, in fact, the human DNA code today contains that which was in Lyra, and also much which has grown from then. So in the Lyran body, it was not capable, it was capable of many, it was vastly capable. However, in other groups who have also come from Lyra and have seeded and changed and upgraded their genetic codes since then through consciousness and various ways they have grown, there are many, the human DNA code is a vast library that could transform a body a tremendous amount, almost unimaginable to what people would maybe be used to. This is to say that Lyrans, if you take the whole entire soul could not fit into the body, nor is that necessarily true for humans, and very great souls could not fit into a body. However, the human body is very small compared to, you could say, the soul body, which is very, very, very large for many souls, not for some. And the human body has a code to actually fit a great deal of that into the physical body. which is like compressing a nuclear bomb into a small body and maintaining it. This is a strange example, but it makes some sense to Harris.
So, all of these solar flares that are happening at the moment, is that changing the body as well, or what are those things doing?
They do. For one, they initiate clearing, which is the precursor in the sense that as the strong light comes in and goes across the surface of the Earth, that whips out the dark energy and sort of shakes the body up electromagnetically, energetically, and helps encourage the detoxification of bodies and also helps seed light into the earth and encourage the process. So with the solar flares, some people who are sensitive may feel very lethargic or very energized as their body is reacting to this energy. And that encourages it is more of an encouragement of purging, and then the light, as this purge happens, the light from within shines forth.
So I just had another question about the Lyrans and their bodies. How did the Lyrans' bodies change after they used the reptilian technologies?
Well, for one, their consciousness began to, we would not say devolve, but their consciousness became myopic, very focused on certain aspects. So they became more focused on technology and survival, and less focused on natural connections and those that you could say a great complex of energy was forgotten, while certain complex of energy, which are also useful, such as technology, were zoomed in on. And as that happened, your bodies adapted, actually, for one, to become intellectually smarter, because their consciousness had began to prioritize survival and intelligence, intellect, and this became very refined. But then, as their consciousness focused away from natural connections, which are needed for cellular rejuvenation and for many other things, that became, those genes, you could say, became turned off and decayed out of, for some, decayed out completely, and as other things grew, as the intellectual focus grew. So the bodies became more intelligent and more technologically equipped and more stronger physically, but then became, in many respects, not in all, became out of tune with natural harmony. Some groups had realized this quickly and had begun to turn the corner over time, and others had marched quicker and quicker into the myopic focus.
So is that what we're trying to do now, I guess, is return back to, I guess, the original?
Yes, we are the original and more, truly. It's, yes, absolutely. You can imagine many humans are still, some are in this very focused in their consciousness on survival and on intelligence, and we're zooming out. So we're not forgetting the importance of, let's say, crafting technologies, which we have honed in and developed, became skilled at. We're not losing these things, but we're maintaining them and also gaining all of these abilities, such as the psychic skills and the energetic and the fundamentally the connection to others, which is not totally forgotten by all ET races, which is not at all forgotten by many ET races. To the side, but we're gaining back everything which was lost, and also retaining all that we have gained over this experience, which is actually a vast amount. And it's to say that we could, if we could imagine into the future, when Earth humans become their full form, if they were to go to the Lyrans would be very impressed by them.
Mm. Well, that's really interesting. So does Harrison have any other Lyran lifetimes that he would want to explore in the future in sessions like these?
He does. For one, there's a preview we saw of this. There's a war with the jetpacks, which, well, it's very interesting. This life would be good for him to explore. There's many others too. In many respects, he plays a role as a. He plays many roles. So yes, there's many lifetimes for him to explore in the Lyran complex, and these extend over time. He is connected to many energies, not just this one, but this one is home to him in a great sense. And he has had many lifetimes with souls of this group over time.
Mm. Do you have any other messages for Harrison or the collective before we leave?
For the collective, Harrison, and for Harrison, we would say that it would be good for people, it would be good to focus on the light within you always. And though it is, you can imagine there may be many news stories and various things to come to you in the future, and know that these are there largely to throw you off course. So it is okay to indulge in these interests so long as you never forget the light inside you. And in many respects, it is best to focus more on that than to let yourself be pulled around by this puppet show. However, the puppet show is entertaining, so you do not have to beat yourself up when you watch it.
Wonderful. So is that all for today?
That is all.
Wonderful.